What? Open up a wide shot here. Okay.
Why don't you go ahead, tell me something about that, about before Kerr.
Well, before Kerr was some things that I hear from the elders was free electricity, that they were going to get free electricity once the dam went in. So the dam has gone in, 50 years have come and gone, and renegotiating. So today I sit in my house, I use the electric heat because it comes from the free power that we're supposed to get. And that's why, you know, that's why I got it all shut down to 50 maybe. So when I leave, that pipes don't freeze. I mean, that was just some of the promises that were made to our elders, as they have told me, that said that we were going to get free power from Kerr once it was completed. And as far as Kerr, well, the way we got involved was, well, one day we were here and Lucille Otter came over, and I think about that time she was working on voter registration, I think it was. And then anyway, she got around, she said, I want you to write a letter. And I don't remember the exact date that they were going to have a hearing in Pablo. She said, I'd like you to be there, so I went and wrote the letter and based it on justice. Justice that is supposed to be here in this country. The lady that carries a scale and is blindfolded. One big lie. Well, anyway, as it goes, we attended a meeting in Pablo. I read my letter. Then we find out that that same evening there is going to be also a hearing in Missoula. And we're asked if we'd like to go to that meeting. Yes, sure, great, fine. So we, wife and I, we go down and we listen to both sides. We listen to the people that don't live here on the reservation. Probably got homes on the lake. And after the meeting is over, we hear, well, my sister, Jerry Knoll, who was involved with Alcatraz, the takeover of Alcatraz. We're talking, you know, and they says, well, we ought to have some kind of a, I don't know what you might say, a demonstration or whatever, what it is, you know. It says, well, we should have a vigil, I think is what it amounted to. So there was a council meeting, and the agreement at the time was that some of the people that were talking agreed go to the council and ask the council, you know, what they or tell the council or ask whatever what they thought about this. So wife and I go down and we're at the council meeting and bring this up, and all the people there were, I don't know what happened, but as it was, there was only just the two of us. And at the time, council felt that it was a very good idea. So from that point on, other people start to get involved, like Teresa, and then we started holding little meetings, and ideas came as to what we should have, and the general planning of it, the overall planning. And about that time, I guess I thought, well, what we need here, or what I felt we needed, was to inform the people, not only our people, but the people on the outside, that they should get some of what is happening here, So I spent almost a month down there on the highway, along the highway. We got various materials ranging from what we had here on the reservation, some of the back issues of Charcusta that carried some of the literature on Kerr. We had that. We had a couple teepees we set up, and inside these teepees we set up some of this. We had this information. We had a couple tables. We strung some fish line and hung these papers up. Occasionally we'd get people come in, and they sympathize. Of course, these people were out of state, which was good. And they'd come in and then pick up this material, and we had people that would come in, they'd come and they'd sit with us, most of the day. Some would come down in the evening, and it was pretty good. We stayed there for a whole month, just about a month. I think we lacked 4 days from there till the time. Then I came home, spent a week at home, and we spent a week at home, and then we went out to Kerr, set up the camp down there. By that time we had who was going to do the cooking, who was, all this was all more or less squared away. But we had a lot of people that were interested. There were a lot of people that you never thought really cared. But when the time came, when the chips were down, those were the people that were there. They were all sincere. I mean, there was a lot of sincere people. And it's only too bad that maybe that we didn't get it started sooner. If we'd have got it started sooner, maybe the outcome was different. A lot of times a guy has to question what went on. And its final settlement to this day, I really can't say. I don't know if anybody can say how much money comes out of Kerr. I mean, in Montana Power, does Montana Power say, hey, we get so much money out of Kerr alone? Kerr is always lumped in with all their other hydroelectric powers, whatever they're doing, the coal. It always comes in one big lump sum, and we can't say really today, did we do enough? Did we do the right things? Did the council do the right things? I know they did one thing. They went and they put their best foot forward, They tried to negotiate in the best of faith. But today, as I look back at it, they were trying to negotiate with the man with the stack deck. Very simple, very simple. When it came down that they saw that we weren't giving ground, they threw this thing in, hey, you guys either better settle now or we're going to settle it for you. And I think the council was thinking of this thing of, hey, we're going to settle this for you, which would have probably been maybe a million or two over what we were getting then, which is only 3 million. And it's today it would have been a different game. Today they'd pick it up down the goddamn river in little pieces. Because I cannot see the government bargaining in good faith. I always ask this question to myself, and I would say, where in that Sam hell was the BIA? BIA is a big joke, as far as I'm concerned. I know today Kerr would be settled in a different manner. I think they were watching us in a sense as to what we were going to do. Were we going to be violent? were we going to take up violent means? Was that thing out there when we went out there at the dam? Was that when all of a sudden just turned violent and say, hey, let's go down or let's do this? You know, but we wanted to give our council a chance. We felt that they were at a table where negotiations were in good faith. Like I say, today you look back, it was not in good faith. They were negotiating against a stacked deck. And I only hope that today, that this council is watching that every step that is taking, everything that is happening between now and that the 30 years when that comes up, where we turn our people over, they start taking over. I hope they're watching every step of it. And I hope if they renege, they let them know. I do hope they are watching it. Because it's like a peanut. You take a peanut, you got a shell. You take the shell, throw the shell away. And you've got a little brown skin over that goddamn peanut. I think that's what we got. You know, we got the peanut, don't you? The peanut was in Montana Power's hands. And it'll remain that way until that day we learn to blow our own horn. I'm not saying that we didn't take the steps. Sure, there was a lot of letters written. I remember that there were boxes and boxes of letters that were brought over, and we'd send them out we'd stamp them, we put them in envelopes, and we sent them to foreign countries and different agencies. We came up with a list of agencies, and we sent these letters all out. So I guess what it really amounts to, our cry was in vain. Nobody seen, nobody heard. Oh yeah. It was some time later that we seen, I think, an article or a paper that was, I think it was in German. And I don't remember what it said, but
I think it was translated in Charcusta.
I think it did appear in the Charcusta, but I think our cries were in vain. I think the violent means would have said, hey, this is what was happening. We didn't. I mean, for what it's worth, as I'd like to say, is I'd like to ask the question is, what are they getting? How much are they getting alone from it? That way, I think we can assess what we've done. Not only the vigil group, the tribal council, the lawyers. Then from there, I think we can say, well, hey, maybe we should have went the other way. I mean, for the overall cost, what was the overall cost in the fees paid to the attorneys? Did we get what we should have got from the attorneys? Sure, $9 million a year, well, it goes up.
Okay. Well, one thing that I was wondering about was whether the vigil committee, when it was starting out, had a clearly defined goal that they hoped for in terms of the settlement that would come, or about Kerr Dam, or whether it was just a general support group, or whether you personally had a clear idea of a goal that you wanted.
Well, I think at the time that we did have, that the vigil did go on up, it was all support, which was total support, because I believe at the time was, some of this was already happening in D.C., if I remember correctly. And I think that, you know and I know, I think we all know that if we had done it, say a month, maybe ahead of time, maybe it would have been different. Maybe they could have showed these people. Maybe they could have showed these people that some of the people that were on this board, because we only had the judge, and I don't know who else is involved besides this judge. You know, I mean, but it was in total support, and we had a fairly good turnout of. Well, let me see, I think, well, some of the council that were there that I do remember was Joe Felsman, which I think was chairman at the time. Jim Steele at the time was going to be here, but he had to go to some kind of NCAI, I think it was. Teresa Wall, naturally, she was right in there every bit of the way. And then you take guys like Bearhead, I think. At that meeting, we went before the council. They said, yes, it was a very good idea. And when things started to form, we started to get people involved, and I thought about Bearhead, you know, because Bearhead is somebody that I'd like to have behind me rather than to be facing. There's a hell of a lot of good in that man. Like I told the council, if you're playing a ball game, I don't give a damn how much you dislike a person. But if this person can hit the ball out of damn ballpark, but by God, you better get that person behind you, because that man's going to hit that ball out of the park for you. But all in all, it was an all total support for what the council was doing. And I think I guess what it was, just a real total, support of something that maybe down the line, any time that Kerr came up, if the council at the time, these things came up, where we came to the people and let the people know how urgent, how important things were concerning it, not only for present-day living. It's the kids. And of course, you know, our elders, you know, they thought that what was put on black and white, meaning paper, was sufficient. Of course, now you look back, you find out that what was on black and white on paper was totally worthless. Times you hear that these papers are in the archives, and oh, that's a big laugh. If they're in the archives and do something like this. Who the laugh's on, I don't know, but I think it's going to, the way I look at it, it's on the archives. Because it was a big total lie. 50 years came and gone, and we still don't have it. No, as you know, as we started going, you know, various ones would attend our meetings, you know, as we were going, different ideas were put forward, and we'd hold these meetings, and we'd come up with, had some pretty good ideas. There are times that, now that I think about it, you know, it makes you kind of laugh. Like, for one, kicking the Bureau out of the building that they're in now out, locking them up and say, hey, you guys stay the hell out of here. You don't help us. We don't need you. For a long time there, I mean, I was asking about a poster that I'd seen, and if I remember correctly, it said, BIA needs you, and that finger was pointed, you know. And I was just hoping that I could find one of those posters. I was hoping to find one of those posters and show it, you know, say, hey, to the media that we did get, because we got, I believe, Missoula, one of the stations from Missoula came down. They were doing interviews down there and so forth, you know, and I was hoping that I had one of those posters. And another thing that we wanted to do at the time, I think, was we wanted to set up a teepee. But this teepee was going to be set upside down, set up like, you know, set up this way, and the sticks would be going in the ground, and the tent part of it, or whatever it is, would be up this other way, and we was going to have on there the Bureau's house in order, which was totally upside down, because I don't think we got the support that we should have got from the Bureau from the beginning to the very end. They were just watching and saying, well, by God, they're doing fine, they're losing it. And they do that to us time and time again. I don't know if you guys want to hear this, but it would have been easy. It would have been easy. But I often wonder, what would it really would have happened, and to say, heck, let's go down there and have a whole bunch of people thrown in jail, or maybe a few. I don't
Business as usual.
Well, we can turn this off till we get ready.
Hot.
Is it?
Well, I guess if we all look back again, you know, and say that maybe the council did have an idea that we weren't going to get total control. We weren't going to get the license. Maybe they knew it. Bottom line was, I guess, that's total control, the license. Whether they had another party, I mean, say, hey, we look to a different company and say, we're up on negotiations here, rather than just Montana Power, say some other power company, say, come in and say, hey, we're willing to give you this kind of a deal. I don't think we were given that right or that opportunity as a tribe. It was just Montana Power. And that, if we weren't, I think in a sense was wrong. Because in negotiating something like that, I think their time was up, and I think that any other power company that wanted to come in and do this should have had that right to be there and voice what they had to offer. And to all the meetings that we went to, some of the meetings that were closed door, didn't hear of these people. Although at one time we were at a meeting that after the meeting was over, there were a couple of people there that were in there at the meeting where the questions were asked. Who were these people? Or who are these people? You know, some of the people that were. Yes, these two people they weren't they weren't dressed like super big wigs or anything like that, you know. They just fit in with the people that were there. Most of the people that were there, you know, just calmly dressed people, and they didn't say anything, didn't voice any type of an opinion, but still no one knew who they were. So how much inside people Montana Power had, I don't know. Just, well, Bill for one, Bill Marshall. But how deep, I don't know. Well, anyway, 30 years from now, I don't know where I'm going to be, or where the wife here is going to be, or a lot of us where we're going to be. I just hope that the younger people here that are going to be here remember the negotiations that we had were not of good faith, and I don't think they're going to change unless that dam down there is considered unfit, unsafe, and with a tap of the finger is going to go down the river. Then I don't think there's going to be any problems of us getting it entirely. But you got to remember one thing, they do have an obligation, and that's to keep that dam in running order, in top shape, when we do get it, when we do train our people, when we do take it over, that we do have a dam that is going to be an operation, you know, just say, hey, okay, fine, you got your people, we've trained your people, here's the dam. That we got to remember, that we are going to receive that dam in that order, in workable order, safe for the people that are downstream. Those are the things that we're going to have to make sure that they are doing today, that they live up to their obligations. They never lived up to the first ones. And I don't think we should give them any slack to get out of it. Sure, we lost a hell of a lot. We lost the right-of-ways that weren't theirs. That was thrown in the negotiation. Power lines that ain't supposed to be there, that are there, that was thrown in. That's probably some of the things that's going to have to be brought up when the time comes. What is it? What is the whole total package? You know, that package. In this last negotiations, were they all put out on the table? Or is that going to be their whole, those two lines? You know, it gives them a lot of time to change directions of those lines. To say, hey, well, this is our biggest customer, California, so we change these lines and they go to California. Sure, we get the dam, but they get the biggest amount of money because of the two biggest lines, because of the two biggest customers. So those are some of the things that we're going to have to really watch for. The people that are in power today, I hope they learned, they were here. If they weren't involved, they should remember. And things like this should be brought out.
Do you have an idea of what strategy should be pursued by somebody who might be the equivalent of the Kerr Vigil Committee 27 years from now? Should they take a different strategy from what we did, since we assumed they were bargaining in good faith?
Well, people change. And we can't say that, say, 30 years from now or whatever it is, the time in between now and then, what type of people they are going to have. Are they going to have the same type of people that they had in the past? So that's what some of the things that you're going to have to look at. If they're going to be the same type of people, then by all means you are not going to get the type of negotiations which is supposed to be in good faith. You're not going to get it. And if that's what you're going to get, then do the things that we didn't do, which was send that sucker down the goddamn river in little pieces. Because good faith is not what you're going to get. Not a good settlement. Sure, maybe we'll have the people trained. But I think if that's what's going to happen, that's what they're going to have to do. After all, remember one thing, it was down in black and white. That was meaningless. What we're doing today, sure, everybody can sit there and listen and watch. They sat, they listened. I remember that one day when the tapes were being played from the vigil, that you could have dropped a pin on the floor or on a table. Couldn't have dropped it on the floor because the council chambers were totally carpeted. You wouldn't hear. But if you had dropped a pin on a table, you could have heard that pin being dropped on the table. Everything was quiet. They were listening. They were listening to these tapes. They were listening to what the people had on their minds, what they said at the vigil, what was on their minds. They wanted it. They wanted it. They wanted the dam. They wanted the license. The license is the most important thing. Because if, hey, these guys weren't going to give us what we wanted, then this guy here, who'd be willing to say, all right, we will negotiate with you. We will give you 75–80% of what we're taking here for a period of time, and then we'll get more. No, that wasn't the deal. Not what we got. Like I say, it's hard to base what, other than total ownership, the license, it's hard to say just what the amount of money is and how you're going to base this on that, you know. I mean, if we could say, well, we got so many $1 million and this is what you got, then we know how that pie is being divided. And we don't know that because every time they came out with a total of every dam they had, they included it. So we never did know what maybe, well, I don't know, but maybe other people know. And if there are people out there that did know, I wish they'd have came forward and spoke the loudest and did the most. I mean, sure, hindsight is easy. Hindsight is sometimes a big slap in the face. And I hope when they start in, I hope they start, say we got 3 more years to go, 4 years, and that they pick it up and they say, hey, remember what you did last time, and keep that up and just keep it going to the day that they say, all right, our 30 years is up, and I hope they do. Because that's the only way they're gonna come out on top. And hopefully it ain't gonna take a smut on that dam and send it down the river. No. I'd do it again, I guess. I might do it as an old man if I'm lucky. But I don't think so. But I'd do it different. I'd be violent. Send me to jail. Send me to the gallows. You are sending me, my children, my people, you're sending them down to the gallows. The right to live a meaningful life, natural resources, they run out. That water, it will be there all the time. It's going to come down, it's going to flow the same way, it's going to flow the same path. And it'll always be there. And it's going to be in our younger people's way. Maybe they're going to be smarter. I hope they are, because unless the people have changed by then, they understand that if I tell you today I'm going to pay you the $10 that I owe you and I do it, not just say it and say never do it, you know, which is today. I buy something today and it's got a rebate. That man didn't sell me nothing. I get my rebate, I have to go to the court for it to get it. They never tell you the truth. And I hope that day, when that day comes, there are some honest people. Not only with Montana Power, but right on up the line. The people in the Federal Regulatory Commission, the board, I hope those people are honest. I hope they see what was done in the past and they say, hey, wait a minute, this is what you did in the past, you did it once, don't do it again. Nobody seems to slap their hands. You were wrong, you didn't do this. I guess maybe our outcry wasn't loud enough. I don't know. I just don't know what to say.
I was going to ask if Kerr Dam wasn't there, or if this was 1930 right now, having known what's happened or whatever, would you oppose the construction of any dam, period, on the river?
I was against the one that they brought up. They brought up, and I was against it. The only way I could see it is to say, well, we have to redo this one, the one that's in place now. I don't think I'd go for anything other than what is in place now, depending on who had the right. If we had the right, then fine, I'd go for it. And if they say, well, it's unsafe, and they were to take it out, and just take it out, period, I'd say take it. But you are not going to put another goddamn dam in the place where it is, where the one is now, without our control, without our ownership. There's no way in hell I could see it, or any other one below it. Not ones on the reservation, or any other one that's going to affect the reservation in the way of backwater. Water's going to flood out this reservation. By God, this reservation is going to have a hell of a lot more coming from it than just flooding what land we've got. And that's basically what we got left is along that river and up on the mountains. I don't see why we should have to suffer. I mean, yes, if you're going to put it in that same location with our ownership, our say-so, I mean, the license is ours, fine, put it back in the same place, no other. Without that, or one down below that's going to say, no, can't see it, don't believe in it.
What do you think would be a good use for the money that's coming from the dam during the next 27 years, that $9 million per year?
Well, the way they've got it earmarked, some of the things will be coming into play, which is one, I think, was education, some of the money set aside for the elders, which is fine. But I think that more of it ought to be put back to given back to the people. Here, how we bought how many million acres. We bought a lot of land. What good does it do? Me, my children, our children, it don't do us a damn bit of good. We're just a big bunch of landholders that maybe one day the United States government is going to say, okay, you're no longer a reservation. So they take all that land back. This is all I got right here, and I'm just leasing the goddamn thing. And they can probably take that too, the way things have been going, but I think if we're going to spend money on the land, buying land, I'd like to see down the road that say, all right, those of you that were not in allotments, we should be given allotments. I don't think the tribe should buy any more land back unless they're going to see it in that way. We're going to be able to see something out of it. Education's fine. Care for the elders, fine. But look at, they have programs. I'm on a fixed income. Like I said, I got baseboard heat right here. I won't use that baseboard heat because I can't pay for it. I use that wood stove over there. I get wood. I got how many? 3 cords of wood this last year. This is through ANA. And wood's getting harder. I think something should be done, but well, we can probably get more money and say, hey, let's do. They did this. They came into my house and they said, hey, how many watt bulbs you got in your, or how high is your hot water heater? You know, so they went and turned it down. They told me, hey, use 40-watt bulbs. I use 40-watt bulbs. Turn my hot water down. Did they come back a year later and say, well, let's take a look at your light bill? They didn't take a look at my light bill again. They didn't say it went down or up. Waste of money. Sure, gave somebody a job, but what the hell good does it do? Doesn't do any good. You know, I was up at Libby Dam here, and we were going through, and I didn't know that this one person was from this part of the country, and we were going through the dam there in a tour, and they were talking about the dam, you know, the generators and all that, you know, and they said, I says, I don't know what they're, I forget how it was said, but this one guy turned and looked at me. He says, I wonder if these people know that you own one of these things. I says, yeah, I wonder. Then I got to thinking, own what? We don't even own the dam. We can't even get power from it. We have to buy it just like everybody else. That free power, what happened to it? That our elders talk about. What happened to it? Who got the free power? The big building with the big light on the outside? Which is probably Montana Power buildings. Heated sidewalks in front of Montana Power offices. I guess maybe that's where they went. No, I think a lot more of this money ought to be turned back to the people because we're having a rough time. I won't use this goddamn electricity to heat my house because it costs too damn much. And I think a lot more of that money ought to be put back toward this. You know, in helping our people. That's what I think they should do. I mean, you know, hey, yes, fine. I know they wanted to see what we were going to do with this money. Times do change. And as time changes, I think that maybe some of the priorities ought to be changed. I know any time you go in for a job, now, you know, you got to have a degree in this. You got to have a degree in that. Sure, that's fine, which is education. I think education is fine as long as it's brought back to where it originated.